But my dad, for my whole life, even today, my dad is a good man, so I want you all to hear me say that. But he has struggled with the demon of addiction for my whole life. And we grew up very poor. My dad didn't work, and we lived off of government assistance. So every month, we would get a check and food stamps at the beginning of the month, and that was supposed to last us the whole month. But because of my dad's addiction, as soon as that money would come in, the house would suddenly be full of Little Debbie cakes and Mountain Dew, and me and my brother and sister thought, this is what it must be like to be rich, to have a full refrigerator and a full cabinets. But what I realized, even as an elementary school girl, 7, 8, 9 years old, was that this wasn't going to last. That there was going to come a time in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where the refrigerator was now empty. The cabinets that were once overflowing with food, they wouldn't be full anymore. And so what would happen in our house whenever everything was gone, we would make our ways to the local churches, we would make our ways to the neighbor's house to have dinner. Sometimes we would make our way to the neighbor's house to use the bathroom because we had no water. But once we had exhausted all of our options, and especially if it was the weekend and there was no school, then I would be paying attention to my brother, to my dad, to my little sister, my baby sister, who would wake up on Saturday and have nothing to eat and be counting down the days until the first of the month. And so I made a decision then, a decision that no child should have to make. But I made a decision to get involved in my family's financial planning. And so the first of the month, my dad would get that check, and his friends, they knew he had that money coming in, so they would come pick him up. They'd take him to the bank, and my dad would have a fat wallet full of cash. That was my sign. That was my sign. And all the food in the house, that it was time for me to make a move. And so at night, I would stay up, and I would lay in the bed that I shared with my sister, and I would wait for, her name was Kirsty, I would wait for Kirsty to fall asleep. And then I would wait for my brother to fall asleep across the hallway. Usually he would have music playing, so once that finally stopped playing, I knew that he was asleep. And then eventually, over the WWE Monday Night Raw that was blaring in the living room, I could tell that my dad had finally given in to his addiction. And that's when I knew it was time for me to make a move. And so I would slide out of the covers, being sure not to wake up my sister, and I would make my way to the hallway. And I remember, if you can even picture this now, I remember all the lights off, but the TV was on, and so it's sort of flashing blue. And this was back whenever people still smoked in their houses. Do y'all remember that? And so it was sort of foggy, and I remember as a little girl, that was scary to me. But I knew if I don't do this, good things might not happen. And so I'd make my way down the hallway like a ninja, as my kids would say now. And I would peek around the living room corner and see my dad. And as long as he was out of it, then I knew what I should do. I'd run to the table, I'd open up his wallet, take out $20, and run as fast as I could back to my bedroom. And I'd take that money and I'd stuff it in the very back of one of my drawers. And then it would happen, 2-3 weeks later. We had been through the food. We had been through the community. And it was time again for somebody to step up. Now, you may be thinking, maybe the parents should have stepped up. Maybe someone else in the community, a neighbor, somebody should have stepped up and made sure that those little kids, that dad who was struggling, that they were taken care of. But when I looked around, all I saw, my only option for my success, for my family's success, was for me to do it. So I stayed up again. And I go through the whole cycle. She's sleeping. My brother's asleep. My dad is out. and I get that money out of my wallet. I run it back down to the living room, or money out of my drawer, run it back down and put it in his wallet. And while I would never advise anyone do that, what I remember as a little girl was that, my dad, he never woke up and said, "Somebody took my money." But what I do remember is that even as a little girl, I remember waking up and all of us knowing, we have nothing today. I remember saying to my dad as a child, saying to the leader of the family, "Just look in your wallet one more time. Just look one more time." And I can remember so many months of the surprise and excitement that, whoa, I overlooked this, and we can eat this weekend. $20 can go a long way. If you ever need help, I can help you eat off $20 for the whole weekend. What I learned was to take ownership of my success. That if I want something good to happen, even if it's hard, even if it's scary, even if I don't feel like it, that sometimes I still have to take the next right step.